ચાલુ થઈ ગયું. Hi everyone, I'm Ravishankar Joshi. I studied in a school in Bhavnagar till 12th standard, and I got a good score in JEE Main, BITS and such exams, and got into BITS Goa Computer Science. And as we all know, like Bhavnagar doesn't really have good JEE or GATE coachings, but still that did not stop me from getting a good JEE rank. While at BITS Goa, I studied well and maintained a good CGPA and did my third year summer internship at Google Bangalore, and also got placed into Uber Bangalore, about which I'll be talking today. And I'll be joining Uber soon. And while doing all of this, my main mantra was having big goals in life. I believe that Nishan Chuk Maaf or Nahi Maaf Nichu Nishan. One should always aim high. Like it's okay to miss the aim, but it is not okay to aim low. Usually, according to me, like most of the people do not achieve their dreams or do not get to big things in life because not because they're incapable or not because they don't work hard, but because they set too low goals, and then they like think themselves in terms of those goals. Rather than that, if one sets high goals, it's always like better if even if you try to get a moonshot, you will reach into the stars. Now the first point that we're talking about will be how to improve one's English, and about which I've already listed that it was through Pathmala and Quora. So like most of you, or maybe many of you, I was also in Gujarati medium till 12th standard, and before I went to BITS Goa, my English was above average compared to Gujarat board students, but was probably quite poor compared to all India students. To improve my English, I studied from a book called Pathmala in 8th and 9th standard, which is published by Irish Presbyterian Mission of Ahmedabad. And the book is a 5-part series, and it has exercises for Gujarati to English sentence translations. After completing all the 5 parts of the series, I was fairly decent in English, but still wanted to improve myself and wanted to come at par with other Bitsians. And if you want to just check out the book, this was the book. Yeah, this is the one. And then when I joined BITS Goa, I was actually startled by the stronghold on English on of my BITS batchmates. They actually spoke Shashi Tharoor English, as we call it. And if you are aware, Shashi Tharoor is a famous politician who has a really strong command on English. And my BITS batchmates also were really strong in English. And I was quite taken aback by that. And I also decided I also want to improve my English and want to come at par with them. Then probably I think that CBSE and ICSE English curriculum does a great job at improving English of their students. In my first year at college, I got introduced to Quora, which is a question and answer platform, which was really helpful in improving my English. The impact of having English speaking batchmates cannot be understated, but well, that's maybe it's not available in your college, maybe it is. But if you get a chance to talk to your batchmates and friends in English, try to do that, because that will improve your English by a large margin, which just like reading or writing just cannot. So like obviously reading and writing is important, but like speaking takes it to a next level, because you have to process things in real time, and you have to just you have to just think of words momentarily and just speak them. And to improve English, I would highly recommend solving the Pathmala books and starting to read and write on Quora or Medium or blogs. And by reading answers of top writers of Quora, you'll be able to learn a lot in terms of language and communication, what kind of words are used in a professional communication, what kind of words are used in personal communication, why let's to take just a simple example. Let's say we commonly speak the word so, right? So in our day-to-day communication with friends, or maybe in informal communication, we can just use the word so. But in formal communication, if it's if the word so is misused, it can create a lot of miscommunication, and hence the word hence is preferred, and so on. So communication skills are critical for not just software engineers but for any engineer, and is also given a lot of importance in an interview. And to improve my English, another thing was that at BITS Goa, I we had a common course in first year called technical report writing, where our professors taught us like how to write professionally, and what is the difference between professional writing and just normal writing, and so on. And then we also had another elective which I took, which was advanced communicative English, which was about perfecting pronunciation and use of words, and so on. So that actually helped. And yeah, and now let's talk about the second topic. What is it like to study at BITS Goa? So overall, I would say it was a great experience. Unlike what you might expect, just by hearing the word Goa, people assume that it must be in the middle of Goa city, and we might be on beaches and partying, and that's not probably true. Actually, it varies from person to person, and some people indeed spend some holidays on beaches, but I did not get a lot of time to do that. And then other important features of BITS Goa that make it remarkable, or maybe make it distinguishable from other colleges, is that we have highly meritorious students, we have good professors, we have a decent curriculum, great placements, and alumni network. Now, BITS is one of the few institutes in India, maybe, which follows zero reservation policy, and I found that on average, BITS attracts really smart and intelligent students. It wouldn't be an exaggeration if I said that most of my CS batchmates at BITS were toppers from their own city and from all over India. Uh, Sometimes because all the students were really smart, and our courses had a relative grading policy. So let me explain what does relative grading mean. So relative grading means your grade is decided by, let's say, sorting all the students based on marks, and maybe like top 1 or 2% students get an A grade, and then next 5% student get an A minus grade, and so on. So like basically your marks are your grade is decided not just based on your marks, but based on how well you did compared to rest of the class, or maybe class average. So what happened was, since all of our students were like quite smart and hardworking, our class averages went quite high in many of our courses, maybe not all, but in many of our courses class average quite high. And it was like all of us had to work hard to get that high grade. And yeah, usually, like as in one of the earlier videos Himadri talked about, we have a high course load, and we have to basically courses itself take a lot of time for us. And they that also means that we learn a lot in our courses. On an amusing note, uh, BITS has a zero attendance policy, which means unlike many other colleges in India, which keep some minimum percentage of attendance required to sit in exams, like maybe like whatever 70% attendance is required to appear for the exams. But at BITS, we have zero attendance policy, which means in most of the courses, attendance is not mandatory in order to appear for exams. Like you can just study on your own, and you can give the exam, and nobody will stop you from doing that. But in reality, what happens is, despite this, at BITS, all three BITS campuses, in the CS department, many courses had a very high attendance, because, as I told, the courses were hard, and we also have surprise tests, and it's actually difficult to score well in a course without attending the classes. And yeah, this is how it was. And another small point that I forgot to mention earlier was that like BITS Goa is not an isolated institute. We have three BITS campuses throughout India, which are Pilani campus in Rajasthan, Goa campus in Goa, and Hyderabad campus in Hyderabad, which is called BITS Hyderabad. So the Pilani campus started in 1964, Goa in 2004, and Hyderabad campus started in 2008. But despite this, Pilani, Goa, and Hyderabad campus alumni help each other whenever we need some help. And yeah, we we also we do not consider ourselves as alumni from different colleges, but we think ourselves as Bitsians, which is like we think ourselves as just one university. And then When it comes to professors, I would say they are among the best in India. I at par with other premier colleges like IITs, NITs, triple ITs, etc. Uh, Probably all the faculty members at BITS have PhD degree from a prominent Indian institute like IITs, BITS, and one or two professors even have PhDs from foreign universities. Although the research focus at BITS Goa and CH Department, I mean, I was not personally very satisfied with that, but it's still quite good. About 1.5 years ago, there was a news when a US-based BITS alumni couple donated $1 million to BITS University for setting up an artificial intelligence research lab, which is currently being started in BITS Goa. Although sadly, I won't be able to see it or work there, but I'm quite sure they will do good work as I'm graduating in 2020. But the lab will probably take a few years to get started, but let's see where it goes. And at BITS Goa CH department, we have a professor, Dr. Ashwin, who was earlier a professor from Oxford University, UK. And about curriculum, I would say we have a rigorous curriculum with difficult written exams and labs, assignments, and projects. Although it varies from course to course, all the courses are not all that difficult, but usually the courses are difficult. And in lab sessions, the lab sessions and tutorial sessions are something interesting which premier institutes have and other colleges may not have. So I particularly noticed that at IITs and BITS, we have the system of teaching assistants and tutorial sessions. So what happens is after a lecture is taken, teaching assistants are usually people who are like maybe 1 or 2 years senior or MEs or PhD students who come and take 1 or 2 sessions every week maybe in a course, and in those sessions they try to solve problems based on the theory that is being taught in the lectures. And in those tutorials what happens is they improve our problem solving and coding skills. Sometimes there are specific coding tutorials. Let's say if the course is coding based, like discrete mathematics or data structures and algorithms or design analysis of algorithms or operating systems. In such courses, we had coding sessions in which we had to implement. We learned basic implementation of all the, like, let's say whatever, some graph algorithm or dynamic programming or so on. And then based on those coding sessions, we had lab sessions, which are labs which had like really difficult questions, maybe like CodeChef medium level or sometimes hard level, such questions in the lab sessions. And this was the case because if the TAs set easy questions for the labs, almost all the students would score near to full marks. So like they had to increase the level so much. And then I think BITS Goa CS curriculum covered all the fundamental CS topics like data structures and algorithms, object-oriented programming, computer architecture, operating systems, databases, networks, etc. quite well. And in terms of electives, we had a decent range of advanced courses which can be taken based on one's interests like artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, software engineering, data mining, cryptography, etc. The placements and internship opportunities provided by college were really great, and I would say the placements and internship opportunities were so great that BIT students actually became lazy and they did not even want to search things on their own. They just, the campus placements opportunities were itself were so great, they probably didn't even want to apply to other places. And then I got my Google internship and Uber placement offer through college placement unit only. And BITS Goa is one of the few colleges in India where these two companies go for placements. And then another thing was BITS Goa has a strong open source culture as well, and is often seen among top 10 universities worldwide in GSOC selections. And although probably GSOC selections are going down now, and we usually see 7 to 10 students getting GSOC every year from BITS Goa. And then probably the biggest advantage that BITS Goa has given me is access to its alumni network, where I got a lot of help from seniors right from my first year when I was just finding my way out through the college, and I randomly met a few people who were great coders or maybe had a great CGPA, and they taught me about how to go about college and what to do, what not to do, and so on. And they shared their experience. And then other than that, we have BITS alumni who are directors at great companies or they have started their own startups like Swiggy, Big Basket, etc. Now let's talk let's go to the third topic, which is what are online courses and how do they help. So while at BITS Goa, I came to know about online courses and websites like edX, Coursera, MIT OCW, and they are a great way to fill the gaps in your learning. Whatever it might not be taught well in your college, you can learn from the best professors of the world, like universities like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, etc. Sometimes the courses are also available for free through such MOOC platforms. I took Stanford's algorithms course, cloud computing course, and parallel computing or interprocessors course. Other than these, I watched a few videos randomly on YouTube to learn whatever topic that I did not understand well in some BITS classes, like maybe one or two topics that I didn't understand well. And then overall, I see online courses as a big boon, especially from people who are not from good colleges or want to learn extra. Then what are personal projects and how to get started? So personal projects is another big topic which I won't be able to cover in detail, but I'll still try to gloss over it. So personal project means a project which you take as a side or a hobby project, and web or Android app developments are usually what people try to make as personal projects. And every computer science student should at least do one or two full stack web and Android projects, because like the more projects you do, the better it is, and projects are among the best way to learn computer science. And most of the software developer roles in the industry are either web or Android roles, I think. And hence learning those skills and making those projects would make your resume great and job ready, and it would increase your chances of getting an interview. Now, to get started, I would recommend doing an online course on web or Android app development. And after finishing the course, you should try to find some open problem which you or your friends or someone faces every day. So let's say if you regularly get distracted from your phone, you are doing something on your laptop and you get distracted, so you can make an app which has a timer which would not let you exit the app before while the timer is on. So such an app already exists, and it's called the Forest app on Play Store. Maybe you can check it out. So it's a great example of what you can build as a personal project. So it doesn't really matter, right? So if you are trying to rebuild a Forest app, so it would be a Forest clone. And it doesn't matter that Forest app already exists. Like if you try to build its clone, you would learn Android app development and web development or something. And if by making clones of existing apps, you can learn a lot. And maybe you can reach the level of the software engineers who have built the actual app. And this is actually encouraged a lot in big software companies. Like let's say I would talk about Google. So Google has a policy of side projects, where you can spend some amount of time doing your side projects along with your job. And yeah, so some of those are great ways to make your profile stronger and become a better software engineer. But yeah, then the next point, I would like to talk about what do top product based companies like maybe Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, etc. ask in the interviews, and how to prepare for it. So most of the top product based companies and big startups like Uber and Nutanix focus heavily on data structures and algorithms in their coding tests and interviews. Now you might think that it's a little bit unfair, because in computer science we study like maybe 10 or 15 subjects, and they just ask from one subject. But well, that's how Indian IT industry kind of works, and they focus a lot on data structures and algorithms. So probably that's one of the first topics that you should prepare for. And to prepare for it, also one should improve one's coding skills. So it's just not enough to know what is the tree and what is the graph, but you should also be able to code them, and like code them efficiently. And one should also have good communication skills to crack those company interviews. And for people who want to learn theoretical aspects of data structure and algorithms, CLRS, I also called as uh, Introduction to Algorithms, is a good book, and one should read thoroughly and solve its exercises too. To specifically prepare for interviews, I would highly recommend buying Cracking the Coding Interview book, which covers most of the interview questions and topics asked by top companies. To actually learn DSA well, one should practice coding questions from all the topics like stacks, queues, linked lists, and trees and graphs and dynamic programming, etc. InterviewBit and LeetCode, as she has already discussed in an earlier video. They are a good collection of past interview questions asked in such companies, and practicing on those platforms with a time limit would help you improve your coding skills and speed. So let's say you're trying to solve some interview bit question, you should also take a look at the timer and try to solve it. The question, it may be like 30-40 minutes, or like whatever is the compared to whatever is the good time compared to other candidates that have submit, and you can check it out on InterviewBit. And then in my Google internship interview and other company interviews that I gave for internships as well as full time, I was mostly asked DSA questions. And in my Uber placement interviews, I got questions from DSA and object-oriented programming and system design. Again, object-oriented programming is something, again, a vast topic which I would not like to talk about right now because it would be too long and boring. But in short, I would say it's object-oriented programming is the basis of any software development, and you cannot really write good software without following OOP principles well, such as solid principles, DRY, don't repeat yourself, and writing clean code and writing good tests and so on. So such things come under software engineering or OOP. And then what is competitive programming and how to get started with it. So yeah, this was one of the topics I wanted to elaborate on. So competitive programming means solving coding questions in form of short and long contests, and sometimes even just practice questions without some time pressure. So there are websites like CodeChef, HackerRank, HackerEarth, and code forces, etc., which one can make an account on and try solving problems. So I started computer programming when I was in my first year, probably like I had just joined the college, and maybe like in 1 month I started computer programming, and I did a lot of it in my first and second year, and I reached a maximum rating of like 5-star. And I also went twice to ICPC regionals in my third and fourth year. And then yeah, so that's mainly it about competitive programming. So let's see what is competitive programming. Competitive programming is a process in which you are given a problem and you're supposed to solve it within a time limit. So let's say usually the online judges give some time limit like 1 second or 2 second and you also get constraints, like let's say n is up to some array size or something is up to 10 to the power 5 or something. So based on that, you have to calculate the time complexity of a solution, and then what you have to do is you have to calculate whether the time complexity would be, is this the best solution possible for this problem. So let's say if we are given some tree problem and we come up with a O of n square solution, and the constraints are n is up to 10 to the power 3, and let's say n square will be what, 10 to the power 6. So 10 to the power 6 is less than 10 to the power 8. And as we can see on these online coding platforms, they usually allow up to 10 to the power 8 operations in 1 second. That would mean if your solution is O of n square and takes like what, 10 to the power 6 operations in total, okay, for the given constraints, probably it would pass. And if your solution takes more than 10 to the power 8 operations, probably it would not pass. And but you can always just code up the solution and try to submit it on the platform. What you would usually get is they also have smaller test cases and bigger test cases. So what would happen is in smaller test cases your solution might pass, and your bigger test cases you might get time limit exceeded. So time limit exceeded is another interesting thing. So time limit exceeded means your solution is just too slow to pass the given constraints. Also, their focus is on correctness. Solution will be tested on a lot of edge cases and different types of test cases and so on. And if your solution fails on some edge case, even then you would get wrong answer error. And then I think I already explained about time limit. Then another solution is memory limit exceeded. So let's say if you're trying to allocate an array of size 2 to the power n, probably they would not let you do that. And if your memory usage goes above a threshold, they would probably stop you from doing that, and they would usually put some memory threshold on it. So that's memory limit. and they also check for things like error index out of bound and such things. So they check all kinds of errors in your code, and basically they want to find all the mistakes in your code which are possible. And yeah, this, I'm sharing a link here. This is a CodeChef certification program. I would not I'm not saying this certification is a good certification or anything, but the curriculum that they have created is a really great curriculum for anyone to learn DSA and learn computer programming. And uh, maybe like let's say if you want to learn some basic topic like what is Euclidean GCD algorithm, they also have tutorials for it, and they also have questions for a lot of topics which you can just go and solve. Then recently they are conducting this DSA learning series, which means a series of contests based on topics. Let's say they have done what complexity analysis and then linear data structures and STL and divide and conquer and so on. So they gather a list of resources as well as coding questions for them, and they also have a Facebook group. They also have some WhatsApp groups, and they basically they provide you with all the kind of resources that you want to learn those topics, and you can try and solve questions from them. Then there is Hacker Earth Code Monk series, which is this. So in Code Monk series, you can solve questions topic wise, and they also have good set of tutorials. And then yeah, I think that was it about computer programming. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, other than, so after doing all these, you can participate in ACM ICPC, which happens at college level. So first in ACM ICPC, there are 3 stages. One is online round, then there is on-site round, and then there is world finals. So I cleared the online. So the online round is like at your college level. So you have to get some best rank, best some 1 or 2 ranks in your college, and based on your all India ranking, you would be able to go for regionals. And regionals try to optimize for the maximum number of college attending the regionals. So they would probably give a good chance to GEC students if the GEC students do well in the online round. Yeah, so you can go to regionals, and when you go to an ICBC regional, you can put that point on your resume, and that becomes a strong point. And what else? And you get to meet people from all over India, also like people from premier colleges like IITs, BITS, Triple IT, etc. And then we have yeah, and some companies do hire based on your ACM ICPC performance, and Kickstart and Facebook Hacker Cup are already well known, I think. And then some big MNCs like Microsoft and Amazon hire people through Hacker Earth coding tests, which they take for all India students, in which GC students can participate. But usually the coding tests are like decently hard, maybe not too hard, but their cutoffs go very high because all India students, maybe like thousands of students appear for them. And last time I checked, last year, Microsoft kept such all India coding test in which the cutoff went for like 2.5 out of 3 questions. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just trying to tell you that the competition is fierce for such coding tests, but still you should go and aim for them. You should go and crack them well. And then that's a great way to get into those companies. And then what else? Yeah, well, let's move to the next topic, which was probably the most interesting thing that brought you through this talk. What is it like to intern at Google India? So, in one word, I would say it's amazing. It's absolutely a lifetime experience. We had in the first week of my internship, we had a great Noogler orientation session in which we learned about Google's guiding principles, ethics, internal tools, and infrastructure, and so on. And then we also got a famous Google intern cap, a Chromebook for the internship work, and bags and many small goodies. We also got good stipends for our internship, and then we also had a complete 2 months hotel stay for the internship, which is again a perk which some probably very few companies in India offer. And then yeah, so at and the Google office was as expected really great. And probably if you want to see how is it to intern at Google, you should check out the movie. I think Yeah, the movie The Internship, and the movie talks really well about how what is it to intern at Google Mountain View, and Google India experience was pretty similar to that. And then the office was really great, and it has a lot of perks like free food, micro kitchens for snacks, games like pool, even a sleeping room and gym, etc. So sleeping room is something really amusing. Probably you would not even heard about it. So what happens is, if you are working at Google, whether you are an intern or a full-time employee or anything really, so if you are working at any role at Google, and if you are too tired or if you are not feeling well, you want to just get a sleep, so you can just go to the sleeping room and you can just go and sleep there for 1 or 2 hours or anything, and your manager won't even know, your manager won't even ask for anything, and you can just go and sleep, nobody asks for it. So basically, but this doesn't mean that like Google interns or full-time employees don't have to work. In fact, we have to work quite hard, and it's said that, probably Google hires people who are overqualified for their work, and people, they set really high expectations from us, and we have to work hard on it. So but at the same time, they focus a lot on a work life balance, which means we were like, I think interns are strongly encouraged to work just 40 hours a week, which is something again like pretty uncommon in Indian IT industry. Like many companies are known for making people work a lot, maybe not just 40 hours, but you have to work more. And yeah, so obviously, like there are many companies in India which keep a good work-life balance, but yeah, this is the case. And then Google takes a lot of care of their interns and full-time employees, and interns are also treated at par with full-time employees. Work at Google doesn't even feel like work, and we had many talks from other Googlers, and the famous "Thank God It's Friday" sessions, and talks from likes of Sundar Pichai. And the best part about Google was probably the Googlers. Google maintains one of the highest hiring bars for employees in the industry, and people often feel that software engineers working there are overqualified for their work. Sometimes people do like very boring work there. Overall, the work is really interesting, but it just, people are just overqualified. Sometimes they hire PhD people to do simple tasks like SQL queries, and yeah, these are the kind of things that happen there. But overall, the work was interesting, and my work in particular was backend web development using Python and internal tools, and I wrote some queries to populate a dashboard in order to help find production outages faster. And yeah, that was it about Google. And then yeah, now let's come to the last point. How much advantage does a good college give, and why is it a great idea to do an MTech or MS? So I get this question a lot from my friends, and yeah, many people, so many people are posting about it daily on Quora and LinkedIn, and as you can check, it's a hot topic of debate. But my conclusion is that college does give a lot of advantage to students. So like in engineering, so what happens is, uh, this is uh, this is probably the last part of the talk, but this is the most important part. I think that like being from a premier college like IIT or NIT or BITS or triple IT would give a lot of long-term advantage to one for the rest of the career. So not just for the first job, but for the later jobs also, people get advantage. And usually it's not easy to put that advantage into numbers. It's not easy to define how much advantage they get and so on. But what happens is, people get some other kind of unconscious advantage, and it's always there. It's, I think it's just understated. It's there everywhere. And then some companies hire people based on college tags, and they want to, so that I heard of this term for the first time, that IIT and tag was something important, which I missed, and I did not I did not take admission there. So probably at the time I was thinking that tag doesn't really matter a lot, but I think it does matter. And there are companies which hire only from IITs. There are companies which hire only from prominent colleges like IITs, NITs, and etc. And so yeah, it exists there. And yeah, so many companies do this. And then when you apply to some company, the first stage would be resume shortlisting, in which companies shortlist people based on college, CGPA, projects, previous internship, and work experience. So yeah, another question that I often get from people is that how much is CGPA important? So probably I would say it varies from person to person and place to place, but most of the software companies that I saw in BITS Goa or India only put 7 as a CGPA cutoff. So like if you have a CGPA below 7, you should probably try to improve it, because like for some weird reason they just want to hire people above 7 CGPA, because it's just arbitrary cutoff. Like I don't see a lot of reason in it, but a lot of companies have done that. And yeah, I think it's there. And so but yeah, what would happen is if you do an MTech or MS, after doing it, your BTech CGPA might not matter a lot, but your MTech CGPA would matter for the first 1 or 2 jobs. But yeah, CGPA doesn't really matter a lot after maybe after some time in industry, maybe like after 1 or 2 jobs, but at least for the first 1 or 2 jobs it does matter. And after you have some years of experience in the industry, you can remove your CGPA from your resume and probably be done with it. But yeah, if you have a good CGPA, you can just keep it on your resume. And it definitely helps if it at least it doesn't harm having a good CGPA. But having a bad CGPA may harm at times, and you just never know. And so at least it's good if you can try to keep your CGPA above 7. This is advice. This actually is a piece of advice that I got on my first day in BITS Goa, which a lot of people just often don't get it. This is I mean, it's critical. So what happens is in my first day at BITS Goa, I had one of the seniors who had below 7 CGPA, and because of that, he faced a lot of trouble in internships and placements. Overall, he did well. Like he is in a good company now, but like he is also one of my mentors. So what happened was he told us about how he faced troubles, and then based on that we realized that having a good CGPA is important. And based on that, like I just did that. So similarly, CGPA still matters less than college, I would say. College makes some difference, but so I'm not trying to discourage you, I'm just trying to encourage you to do an MTech. So probably what happens is if you do an MTech from a good college, it is treated at par or even sometimes better than BTech. So like if you do an MTech from an old IIT, what would happen is if like most of the companies, I think all the companies which open, which come for placements for BTech IITians also would also let MTech people sit for it. And then same with BITS and NITs and so on. And then yeah, and also it's I would like to address an interesting point that I recently found out. So many people think that if you are not from a computer science branch, if you are from some other, so I think computer science and IT are basically the same branch. But yeah, if you are in some other branch like electrical, electronics, ECE, mechanical, chemical, something, so if you are from those branches, and if you many people think just you will not be able to do an MTech in computer science. So that's probably false. That's absolutely false. In fact, you can just prepare for GATE CS, and you can do an MTech in CS from some premier college like IIT or BITS or something. And doing that will give you a lot of advantage, and you learn a lot. And that way, even from people from non-computer science branches can jump into software industry. And software anyway, and CS and IT people would already have a lot of advantage if they do an MTech. And then what else? Yeah, so the thing that I talked about was like hiring people based on college. So it's probably not a great practice, but it's called elitism, and it exists in many parts of the software industry. And yeah, I mean, some companies do that. And then uh, companies think that they want to hire the top talent, which they think would be easily available in top colleges. Hence, it becomes difficult to get a good job without being from a top college. And hence, I would highly recommend you to prefer higher studies from MTech, like MTech from IITs, NIT, BITS, etc., over taking up some job at some not so good company. It may be a little bit controversial, but please bear with me. And the question that you should ask yourself is, do you see a future for yourself in the job that you're taking right now? So Let's say if you got placed into some company through GC Bhavnagar right now or some other similar college, and if you think that this job is not for me, I am meant for something better, I can do something better. If this is the case, probably if the answer is yes, if you see a future in your current job, that means you should probably join the job. But if you don't see, if the answer is no, if you don't see a future in your current job, you should probably not join the company. And if you are thinking you join the company for 1 or 2 years and then you would do something else or maybe switch companies, it probably doesn't work that way. It's probably a better idea to take a just take a drop or prepare for gate while you're in college, and prepare for gate CS, and then just do an mtech from good college. And the advantage that mtech would give, it just outweighs the cost of 2 3 years for it. And I think people underestimate themselves and sign up for low paying jobs at some service based companies. But if they realize their abilities, they would be able to crack gate with a good score and get a job at a top MNC. And many people also believe that after spending 2 3 years as a service company, they will be able to switch into like top companies. But the reality is, like, we don't really know a lot of reality. We have to search for the statistics, but you can search for the statistics on your own on LinkedIn, Quora, and such platforms. That switching to top MNCs from service-based companies might be difficult. From what I know, like, I think very few people are able to do that. Like, if you are able to do that, always it's a great thing for you. But if you are but generally the probability of being able to do that is quite low. And I think so, and maybe your mileage can vary. And so what would happen is, if one wants to switch from service based companies into product based companies, their profile might not even get shortlisted. So I do not know. As a disclaimer, I'm putting I do not know a lot about service based companies, but from what I read on platforms like Quora, I think that many service based companies work on outdated technologies like Java Enterprise Edition, mainframes, Unix, IBM computers, etc. And some product based companies even write in the job description that they want to prefer people from other product based companies. So such things exist, and please be aware of that. And if you're not well aware of that, these things might might confuse you. And then again, you would have to go and prepare for gate. So this is how it is. And then hence, I would like to conclude my talk by saying one should always aim for big things, and you should probably aim for a top 100, top 200 rank in GATE and work hard to achieve it. Overall, I had a lot of things to say in this talk. I can just introduce each topic, but I cannot really delve into all the details in this short amount of times. Probably each of the topics that I talked here had can be extended into talk of themselves. But yeah, this is the current talk. And if you have any questions, you can just ask in the Q&A session in the next 15 minutes, and I'm here to answer it. And after that, you can even ping me on any of my social media links, which I have shared with you. So yeah, I think we can start with the Q&A session. I'm just waiting for you all to ask some questions, and so that you can get the maximum out of my current talk, and you can some questions. Oh, so Milan is asking a question. He's asking about BITS MTech placements versus BTech placements, your views. So yeah, probably. So also I would like to introduce him. So he's one of my friends, and he's currently doing a BTech from a good college, which is MNNIT Allahabad. And he also probably knows about this himself. So the idea is, so what happens is, at premier colleges like, yeah, I forgot to talk about this in detail. I think I don't remember. So I think I told that, in premier colleges we have really good campus placements, and they are usually so good that, probably in IITs, BITS, and most of the similar colleges, we have nearly 100% placements for computer science students. And so BTech and MTech students both get placed, first of all, and they also get placed with high packages, and probably the packages are quite high. But another thing that he tries to point out is probably how are MTech placements compared to BTech placements. So what happens is, usually I think MTech placements are not as good as BTech placements, but they are still quite good based compared to, other colleges that you can get. And so yeah, probably in most of the colleges what happens is, when some company comes for placements, let's say when Microsoft comes for placements, they open for, at least they allows BTech and MTech computer science students to apply. And then based on, they take, yeah, I think I forgot to talk about this. So the internship and placement process is usually like this. So what happens is, when some companies come, they keep a coding test, which is a timed DSA test, in which they set some 3 or 4 coding questions, and they give like 1 or 1.5 hour, and the questions can range from easy, medium, hard, or something. Or at least in the Uber test that I had, it was like, I think one question was medium and 2 questions were hard. So they they keep their coding questions, and based on the coding tests, they shortlist people. So usually what I've seen happening, I'll not try to be politically correct here, but I think what I've seen is usually BTech students score well in the coding test, but from the company's perspective, they don't really differentiate much from BTech and MTech students. So like, if you are coding, they will be treated at par with BTech students if you're doing an MTech. And yeah, so but what happens usually is, MTech students do not perform as well in the coding tests and in the interviews, and hence usually the average package of MTech is slightly lower than BTech, but still it's like, it's quite high. I mean, for exact numbers you can check on on other websites like Quora and all, but I would not like to talk about exact numbers here. But I think, yeah, I mean, MTech placements are slightly lower than BTech placements, but at least everybody gets a job, and everybody gets probably a job at a top product based company. But yeah, I mean, your mileage can vary. And also seen people, uh, I've also seen MTech students getting into top companies like Microsoft and Amazon. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there is a variation. Usually more BTech students get it, but it's not because the companies are biased. It's more because like the MTech students have a lot of pressure to prepare for, they have to do teaching assistantships, they have to do research assistantship, or maybe like some project or thesis in which they have to spend a lot of time, and probably they don't get a lot of time to prepare for it. So yeah, I mean, uh, I think MTech placements being slightly lower should not be a deterrent for you. Probably, like, I think, yeah, I mean, even if they are slightly less than BTech, then they are quite good. I mean, and what else? uh, yeah, it varies from college to college and company to company, but yeah, this is how it works. How to improve thinking ability for problem solving? Okay, so this is an interesting question. So thinking ability, I think, okay, now this is a difficult question. This has to, so I have to increase my thinking ability to answer this question. Just trying to joke. So for problem solving, I think what you have to do is just go to coding platforms like HackerRank. I think HackerRank is good for beginners, and HackerEarth, CodeMonk. So probably, I think your thinking abilities are not low. You're trying to just underestimate it. Probably you were just not worked hard on coding questions. When you try to solve coding questions from hacker rank, hacker earth, and so on, you would try finding patterns. So like, let's say if you see some questions and it has some recursive structure, you definitely realize this is a recursive question and then can be optimized with DP or something. So basically, I know problem solving and coding questions are all about recognizing patterns. It's not about thinking ability really. If you are able to recognize that, this question is a graphs question, this question is a tree question, and this question can be solved with dynamic programming. If you find that this question is BFS on a graph question, if you are able to recognize that much, you'll probably be able to solve the question. And yeah, the only way to improve your thinking ability and coding skills is by solving more and more questions. And as I pointed to these resources, if you probably go through the resources and learn each topic well and solve a lot of questions from it, probably your coding skills will improve. Yeah. uh, tell few things about BITS culture regarding placement. I think I already talked a lot about it, but anyway, BITS Goa placements are really great, and we have almost all the big MNCs coming here. And I think, yeah, CS department has 100% placements, and even many non-computer science students get placed into IT companies. Yeah, I think for average package and such statistics, you can check on Quora. And yeah, I think college has some problem with sharing exact numbers, and IITs and BITS do not share exact placement statistics on their websites for some reason. And I think, yeah, I think I'm not allowed to say it here, so probably you can check online. And any other question? How can one get internship in product based companies which companies don't come to campus? Yeah, this is a good question. So as I said earlier, there are 2-3 ways. So probably according to me, the easiest way is through preparing well for GATE, doing an MTech and getting into good college, like getting MTech from good college, and from there you can get them for campus placements. Another way would be improving your competitive coding skills. And probably if you are a high rated programmer on CodeChef, like 5-star or 6-star or something, many companies like DirectEye, ShareChat, and I think, yeah, a few companies do hire through that. And then what happens is you can just post on LinkedIn then that I'm high rated on CodeChef, and if someone is ready to refer me, and usually a lot of people do get referrals through that. And yeah, as I would talk about myself, what happens to students of premier colleges is that we get referrals from our own alumni, which really helps. And for you, another way would be participating in open source programs such as GSOC. And let me share a link about it. So yeah, this is a good link for that. Yeah, so I recently found out this link. So it talks about programs similar to Google Summer of Code, and you can maybe participate in GSOC or some other program. And if you have done those if you have done GSOC or some outreach or some similar internship, probably if you can just put on LinkedIn, people might be able to refer you. And maybe your GC Bhavnagar alumni can refer you, or maybe someone else, whoever sees your LinkedIn post, might be able to refer you. So yeah, I think the 3 good ways are doing an MTech from a good college, another is competitive coding, another is GSOC. Yeah. Next question. Give some info about way to get internship at Google off campus. Okay, so yeah, I think probably, yeah, I think I talked a little bit about it. So usually it's among the difficult side. So one way, I think it's similar to previous question. So what happens is, if you have done good in competitive programming, or if you or in competitive programming, especially if you get a good rank in Google Kickstart, maybe like top 100 rank in some round, or Code Jam, or yeah, or in such competitions, if you get a good rank, you can get a Google interview. And another way is if you have done GSOC, and if you post on LinkedIn, and if some So earlier, I think there was a system in which GSOC people used to get Google referrals, but now it is closed. So if you just post on LinkedIn that if you've done GSOC and you want to get a Google referral, then probably you can get a Google referral. And if you get a referral, then you can get an interview. And after for clearing the interview, I already talked in detail. So you have to basically get your DSA strong. And yeah, I think that's a way to get Google off campus. Next question: how to grow comfortable with coding questions related to number theory? Okay, so for number theory, you can refer to the CodeChef certification page curriculum that I sent. So they have resources on number theory especially. And let me find, I think I remember, yeah, this is a good page about number theory, a voyage through numbers. Yeah, this is a good one. So there is a programming and algorithms groups from IIT Roorkee, which is like a club, and it's like a competitive coding club. And they have written this Medium article some time ago on how to learn number theory in particular. And I would also like to talk about it a little bit. So we started a similar competitive coding club in BITS Goa, which is again something you can again do in your GEC Bhavnagar, in which people would gather and people would teach whatever they have learned and mentor juniors and so on. So we started this club called Algomaniacs when I was in second year. I was one of the first 15, 16 people in the club. And yeah, this is what we do. And next question. In general, you can find some competitive if you are struggling with some particular competitive coding topic like number theory or some graph theory or something, and or some advanced topic like segmentary. If you can just go to code forces, you can find many tutorials on some particular topics. And yeah, please ask if you have any question. Is system design asked for freshers job? Okay, so let me answer this question. So yeah, so system design, I would say it's among the lower priority topics. I think very few companies ask that. Maybe like probably 2 or 3 companies in India ask that, and usually it's not asked. Usually most of the companies just focus on DSA. I would say I would just put it into numbers. I would say 80% of your freshers or even the experienced software engineering interviews, 80% of the interviews focus just on DSA, and then rest of the 20% comes from OOP and core CS topics like databases and some random topics like operating systems and so on. And other than that, like maybe like 1 or 2% is the chance that you get for asking for getting a system design question. Okay, so I think I would like to conclude the talk here. And thanks for watching this talk, and it was a great experience. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can still message me anytime on any of my social media platforms. Thanks again on behalf of GEC Placement Cell. Thank you. Okay, yeah, welcome. Okay, bye everyone.